Very good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to week 3 of semester 2, and welcome to your lecture class. I hope all of you are doing well. Also, I hope that you're taking a good care of yourself, keeping safe amidst all the rising numbers of COVID 19, especially in the Western region at the moment. Yeah, and I also hope that you are keeping up with your studies as well. Now, for this week's class, we will be continuing with our lecture 2. Now, if you recall it very well, last week we only had covered slide 30 of slide 61 uh, for our lecture 2. So therefore, we'll be continuing from slide 31 onwards. Now, before we actually hop into our lecture notes, just a few reminders. Okay, so your tutorial week 2 tutorial, those of you who had attempted your week 2 tutorial forum, I have already submitted the sample answers, so you are most welcome to go and have a look at it. Also for week 3, these are some of the things that we'll be doing for week 3, and I hope that you're able to see it on your screens. So there was a message sent off early Monday morning. Okay, yeah, it was sent on Monday morning, and it said, "Welcome to week 3, semester 2. You are required to do the following." Okay, so you are to attend Zoom-based lecture class, which you're doing at the moment. After that, you are to attempt your lecture-based quiz. Now, this is a week 2 lecture-based quiz, and please do note that the quiz for this week's lecture is available on week 2 section of the Moodle Shell, because our quizzes are lecture based, so it will be under week 2 since it is for week 2 lecture. Moreover, you are to attempt the tutorial questions. Tutorial questions 1 to 3 you had attempted last week in the forum. This week you will attempt questions 4 to 7 in the forum, and also the case study. The case study, we will be discussing it in our class on Friday. Also participate in a tutorial discussion session, so that will be on Friday. And you're also requested and urged to start working on your critique writing. Now, those of you who have already selected your topic, who have already given in the name of your groups on the assessment section of the Moodle Shell, thank you very much for your efforts. Some of you went as early as about 1 or 1:30 a.m. in the morning. You went around submitting and selecting your questions. I appreciate your efforts. Keep up with the good work. Okay, and yeah, start attempting your critique writing. Now, it is due on the 1st of September. So if you would very well have a look at the date today, today is the 11th. So you have close to about 20 more days to complete your critique writing. So please start working on it. So if you look at week 3 section of the Moodle Shell, your lecture notes is still the same as week 2's. Your tutorial is continued from week 2, and you have a tutorial discussion forum whereby once you attempt, you will be provided with the sample answers, and the recordings will go right underneath the recording section of the Moodle Shell. So, any questions or any queries in regards to any issues or any problems you are facing at the moment? Tutorial, critique writing, lecture notes, or anything? If you have, I'll give you a minute to unmute and speak, or probably you could send me a chat message on Zoom. So give you a minute time. Think about it. If you have any questions, any queries, please do feel free to let me know. You have a minute with you. Okay, no questions? If no questions, let us continue with the lecture notes. Now, generally, in face-to-face mode classes, I tend to give breaks to students after every first 45 minutes of the class. So your class will exactly begin on the time. Let's say if it's a 2 to 4 class, so it begins at 2, and then I will hold the class at 2:45, give about 10 minutes break. So the students would get time to go and grab a drink or visit the washrooms. After 10 minutes, come back, and then we'll kick off the class somewhere around 5 to 3, somewhere around that. And then we'll go all the way till quarter to 4, and we'll release about 10 to 15 minutes area so that you have a good transition to the next class. In this case, since we're doing things online, so what I'll be doing is, instead of giving you breaks in the middle, so there's total about 20 to 30 minutes of break for the entire 2 hours, most likely 20 minutes. So instead of giving you a break, what I will do is I will finish the class a bit earlier. So all the breaks, I will combine it right at the very end, so that instead of us finishing the class at about 10 to 4 or quarter to 4, we can finish it off a bit earlier. Okay, so that's another thing. Also, sometimes there would be scenarios when we have quite a bit of coverage, your class may be a bit dragged. So I would appreciate your patience during that phase and during that time. And also do let me know if you have classes straight after we finish our classes, or you have a classes before our class, you finish at 2 and join in here. Do let me know about it, and we'll try to be a bit flexible with everyone. All right, now I'm on slide number 31. So just a quick recap what we had gone over last week. So last week we went around looking at the decision-making process. So generally there are 6 steps. So you have problem identification, you have data collection, you have solution generation, you have solution tests, you have solution selection, and the last one that you have is solution implementation. So these are the 6 steps of making decisions. Now, all the decision making that we have in organizations or in businesses generally come in 3 levels. You have strategic, you have managerial, and then you have operational. So if we take a bottom to top approach, so your bottom level decision making is operational level. So whereby we have more of ground level workers, and they make structured decisions. Step up, we have managerial level of decision making. So these are the middle level management, and they make semi-structured. And then the very top, we have strategic level of decision making. So in that, you mostly have senior management or the executive staffs, and they make unstructured decisions. Now, if we try to put in the MIS concept in all these 3 levels of the organization, so with operational, you have transaction processing system. With managerial, you have decision support system. And with strategic, we have EIS. And also further on, we went on looking at critical success factors and KPIs and the relationship between the two. So in today's class, we'll begin off where we left, that is on executive information systems. Now, executive information systems, they are specialized decision support systems. And what they generally do is they aid in decision making for strategic level decision makers. In other words, they help in making long-term decisions. They help in making decisions that will enhance the organization's future. Now, going back to slide number 31. Most EIS offering the following capabilities. So you have consolidation. Now the term consolidation basically means you combine something together, you join something together. So if you look at consolidation, basically it involves the aggregation of information and features. So the term consolidation or aggregation, they mean you join something together, you sum something up, or it's a collection of something. So a very good example of consolidation in terms of EIS would be, let's say you have a multinational company, and the what is a multinational company? It's a company which runs in many different countries, multinational companies. So let's say you want to determine what is a total sale for that particular day. So the different stores total will be aggregated or consolidated. That means they will be joined together to find the total sales for that particular day. So that's a very good example of consolidation. Next bullet point, you have drill down. Now, this is also one of the capabilities of executive information systems. So drill down enables users to get details and details of details. Let me repeat that. Drill down capability enables the users of an EIS to get details, and not only that, details of details, and etc. Example, let's say the executive managers, they are having a good look at the balance sheet or the income statement, and from there they want to know about a specific product, what is the sales, what is the expenses rate like, and so forth. So what they do is they may start digging into the number of balance sheets or income statements, and then from there they'll try to get the breakdown or the revenue breakdown of that particular individual product. So that's drill down capability, enables user to get details and details of details. After that, you have slice and dice. Now, slice and dice, what it does, it looks at information from different perspectives. Now, the slice and dice basically comes from the concept of a slicer and a dicer. What is a slicer and dicer? Now, many times we have something like at homes to make salad, you have a slicer and dicer. So what a slicer and dicer does, it breaks down the information into tiny details and allows the executive managers to look at the information from different perspectives. Example, okay, looking at the information from different dimensions. You have a product, so you look at the sales of the product, you look at the costs of getting the product or producing the product, and then you look at all the relevant expenses with it, and then you decide, okay, why is the product getting this much of sales, why not that much of sale, okay, what are some opportunities, what are some of the threats associated with this product. So with slice and dice, what you are actually doing is you're looking at the information from different perspectives. And the final capability that a EIS has is pivots. Now, pivots are one of the very good places where you can actually relate pivot is pivot tables that we have in Microsoft Excel. If you have done CRN 501, productivity software, or any particular course related to Microsoft Excel, you must have covered pivot tables. Pivot tables is basically a beginner's level element in Microsoft Excel. So with pivot tables, what it does, it rotates data to display alternate presentation of data. Okay, so the data is being manipulated in such a way so that you have a look at that data in many different angles. So example, like mentioned earlier, is pivot tables in Excel. So it gives alternate ways to look at data, and then you try to make decisions from it. So these are the most common capabilities that are available in an executive information system. You have consolidation, drill down, slice and dice, and pivot. So if we want to summarize it up, so consolidation, it involves the aggregation of information and features. Now, aggregation means you sum up or join something. Drill down enables user to get details and details of those details. Slice and dice, it looks at the information from different perspectives. And pivot, what it does, it rotates data to display alternate presentation of data. Artificial intelligence. Now we have intelligence. When you talk about intelligence, generally it's related to human brain. But when you have artificial intelligence, you're looking at something trying to imitate human capabilities or human intelligence. So artificial intelligence, or in simple terms, we also call it as AI, simulates human intelligence, such as the ability to reason and learn. Now, why is artificial intelligence used in businesses? What is the purpose for it? The main reason why it is used is basically it aids in decision making. How? It increases the speed and consistency in collecting and analyzing data. It also gives the ability to make decisions with semi-complete information. Even though you have incomplete information, artificial intelligence gives that ability to make decisions on it. And also it resolves complicated issues very, very easily that a human would take days, months, or even years to complete. A AI would be able to resolve it within few minutes or even seconds. Machine learning. Machine learning is a type of artificial intelligence that enables computers to both understand concepts in environment and also to learn. So machine learning is basically a type of artificial intelligence. Now we have two types. We have weak artificial intelligence in machine learning, and we have strong AI. So when you look at weak AI, you're looking at machines that make decisions based on reasoning and past sets of data. Let me repeat that. Weak AI. So these are machines which make decisions based on reasoning they will try to reason it out and make decisions based on past set of data. Strong AI is basically it provides brain-like powers to the AI machines, makes machines as intelligent as humans. So weak AI, it basically makes decisions on past set of data, whereas strong AI, basically it has human level thinking capabilities. So this is the difference between the two. So I have a generic question, probably any one of you can answer and you can tell me why. So what do you think? Which of the following is smarter? Is or are humans smarter or are machines smarter? Anyone? So what do you think? Are humans smart or machines more smart than humans? Anyone? What do you think? Which one is smart? Let's have someone speak, and you can say why. Or if you don't want to say why, just speak. Probably you can say humans are smart or machines are smart. Okay, since no one is answering. Now, generally, if you think about it, you would say machines are smart because they are able to process things very fast. They're able to make decisions very, very quickly. Thank you, Shalini, for your feedback. Okay, but if you would think about it very, very critically, in general, humans are smart. You know why? Why are humans smart? Because they are the ones who make these machines. Machines, where did they come from? Humans. They are the ones who have developed them. Okay, so humans generally are smart. Now, machines, you can say yes, they can be smart even with strong AI. They have thinking capabilities, but not to that way that it can critically think like humans would think. But if you look at weak AI, they are making decisions past data, so they won't be able to forecast things. All right, so that's on artificial intelligence and machine learning. Now, when you talk about AI, there are five common types of AIs. There are five different types of artificial intelligence. So we have expert systems, we have neural networks, you have genetic algorithm, you have intelligent agents, and virtual reality. So we'll go and have a look at all these different five types of artificial intelligence in the next few set of slides. Now, expert system, computerized advisory programs that imitate the reasoning process of experts in solving difficult problems. Now, expert systems basically is just like machines, and human expertise are transferred into these machines or into these expert systems. Moreover, it contains information from many human experts, and therefore they perform better analysis than any single human. Now, what happens is generally when we say human expertise is transferred, no, there's not a way where you plug a wire in a person and then somehow or the other the thinking capability is transferred into a machine. No, it's not that. Now, what it simply means is there is already a set of data in a specific machine or in a computer or a application software. So I first test set of data is run into that particular software. So you have different intelligent people coming in, and then they will try to make decisions on that particular software. So what the machines would do is they will try to learn from those test data and apply it accordingly. Now, humans will be thinking, then you can have humans in an organization. Why machines? Why expert systems? The thing is this, okay? With expert systems, you're not talking about just one expert, you're talking about many experts. So an expert system, it can be a software that must be sold in the market. For example, Microsoft may sell a specific data software. So that software may be an expert system. So many different experts, they come together and their knowledge is transferred into these expert systems. So instead of having one intelligent person within the organization, you can have this particular software which tries to imitate the thinking capability of many human expertise. Now, a very good example where this could be used is medical field, and even it is used on this very day. Now, how does that happen? Generally, we have technology here in Fiji. Even we have a CABG coronary artery grafting bypass center here in CWM hospital. So what they do is basically all the test results and everything that the doctors do, it needs to be fed into the computerized system, and based on the expertise of the software, it tries to figure out what is actually wrong with that person's heart. Okay, so that is an example of an expert system generally used in medical field. And then you have machine vision, the ability of a computer to see by digitizing an image, processing the data it contains, and taking some kind of action. So machine vision is basically the ability of machine to differentiate between objects. So remember, it says the ability here, it says the ability of a computer to see. That means a computer is able to see something and then differentiate what that object might be. A very good example that you would, I could say from here is machines are having pattern recognition systems. Pattern recognition systems, if we try to have a look at it, we have biometric scanners. For example, a thumbprint scanner. So once your thumbprint is registered into that machine, and if you would try to go and authenticate yourself within the thumbprint or using the thumbprint, the machine is able to recognize you. You have optical scanners. Optical scanners basically has a look at the pupil of your eye, and from there they're able to recognize if you are the right person or not. So that's machine vision. Second type of AI is neural network. Now, neural network, they attempt to emulate the way the human brain functions. When you say emulate, it's more like imitate or try to repeat the way human brains work or human brains think. Okay. Now, neural networks are generally useful for decisions that involve patterns or image recognition, mostly used in data mining purposes. Okay, and it derives new knowledge from a large set of data. When we say data mining purposes, is just like you have a large set of data for, let's say, about 10-15 years, and you are trying to derive a new set of knowledge from it. So this is where neural networks come in very, very handy. And neural networks are basically of two types. You have fuzzy logic and deep learning. So fuzzy logic is truth values of variables in real number between 0 and 1. Generally, fuzzy logic takes a mathematical approach. Mostly they are used in control systems, in engineering purposes, and industrial automation, robotics, etc. Deep learning, a process that employs specialized algorithms to model and study complex data sets. The method is also used to establish relationships around data and data sets. Now, deep learning, they employ specialized algorithms to model and study complex data sets. Examples, you have uh, carless driver systems or carless cars, sorry, not carless, driverless cars or driverless car systems, whereby a car is able to drive itself. Now, how does it do it? Is just by using a specialized algorithm. Algorithm is a computer programming language. Okay, so these algorithms are used to study the complex data sets, and based on that, decisions are made. You have a driverless car. Moreover, you have face recognition systems, etc. Now, just do remember that fuzzy logic and deep learning is part of neural networks. And what they generally do is they look at large sets of data and try to make decisions on it. Now, how is this important for businesses? Now, like we've mentioned, all these, they come under executive information system. So executive information system is used for forecasting and making strategic goals. So for long-term decision making and future decision making, neural network is very handy because it looks at the previous set of data and tries to make decisions for future. Next type of artificial intelligence that we have is genetic algorithm. An artificial intelligent system that mimics the evolutionary survival of the fittest process to generate increasingly better solutions to a problem. In simple terms, what genetic algorithm is, it is a optimization system. When we say optimize, that means it tries to, what it does, it picks up the best of the solutions. Okay, so optimization system, it finds the combination of input that gives the best output. Example of genetic algorithms are used in traffic solutions, most of the street lights, the traffic lights. Okay, so genetic algorithm may be used in those places. It is used in automotive designing, and also it may be used in robotics as well. Shopping bot, software that will search better retailer websites and provide a comparison for each retailer's offerings, including price and availability. Shopping bots are self-automated systems that scans thousands of website pages around the world once a product inquiry has been made. A very good example of shopping bot would be is if you go into Amazon's website, you have a shopping bot whereby if you would try to search for an item, so if that item is not found in Amazon, it searches the entire web and tries to present you with the new search result. Another good example of shopping bot is a mobile app called Shopify. Now, what Shopify does, it does the same. It scans through thousands of web pages on the web, and once that particular product is found, it alerts the user. The next type of AI that we have is intelligent agents. Special purpose knowledge-based information system that accomplishes specific tasks on behalf of its users. Now, this rather seems very, very simple to understand. Okay, so it's a knowledge-based system. That means expert system, and it tries to accomplish tasks on behalf of the users. Now, it is generally used for environmental scanning and competitive intelligence. In other words, what it does, it scans over the web, it may scan over the data that is available, and it provides with competitive intelligence. That means if it's a competitive intelligence, competitive advantage. Okay, competitive intelligence comes from the word competitive advantage. So if your competitor is doing well, so these intelligence systems will try to pull out data and alert you in which how you can basically have competitive advantage over similar businesses. Also, it can learn types of competitor information. Moreover, it will track what the users want and how you should achieve it. It continuously scans the web and it allows the users when a significant event occurs. So that is what intelligent agents do. And then you have virtual reality. Now, virtual reality is an example or a type of intelligent agent. It is a computer simulated environment that can be a simulation of the real world or an imaginary world. Now, virtual reality comes from the word reality. Reality is the fact, okay, or what you actually see at the moment. Okay, now where you are seated, just grab a look probably outside the window or in the room where you're seated. Now you are seeing reality. Okay, that's what is. Now virtual reality is you seeing the exact same thing, but in a computerized way. So a software would be created whereby you would be able to see the reality, but it is simulated. When I say simulated, it's an imitation of the reality. So that's virtual reality, a computer simulated environment that can be a simulation of the real world or an imaginary world. Now, if you want to have a good feel of how virtual reality works, there is a website called secondlife.com. Secondlife.com basically allows or gives you a good feeling of what virtual reality is, whereby you can do normal day tasks in that particular website or a software. Then yeah, you can do exactly the same thing in a software as to what you're doing in the real world. So a good example of virtual reality is Second Life. Section 2.2, business processes. Now, in this particular section, we will be meeting the learning outcome 5. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4 was in section 2.1. So 2.2 will explain the value of business processes for a company and differentiate between customer-facing and business-facing processes. Now, business processes, these are normal day operations that a company runs to produce a good or a service. For example, if I run an organization that actually makes, let's say, chocolates, so the process from how, so the process, business process would be is how chocolates are made and how they are packaged, how they are marketed and sold to a consumer till the point where I actually receive some revenue from it. So that's the entire business process. So we'll have a look at in a business point of view. So managing business processes. Now, businesses gain a competitive edge when they minimize costs and streamline business processes. Okay. Now, businesses, like I mentioned earlier, what business processes are, and they are very important. Why? If you have broken processes whereby you are not able to compile the entire processes of producing a good or services properly, it leads to a lot of frustration. Now imagine this, imagine the university scenario. So you are trying to enroll into CIN 708. So you go to the academic office, you get yourself enrolled. So as soon as you get enrolled, then you realize you don't have the username and password. So you have to go back to ICT to get your username and password. So once you get the username and password, then you realize you only got the username and password for online student services. Then you will go back to them again saying, hey, I want the username and password for Moodle. So they will give you the username and password for Moodle. So once you have that, then and only you can get enrolled into CIN 708 till the moment you start attending the classes. Now that's the normal process. What if you just get enrolled? After that, there's no guideline in terms of how you can attend the class. So that's a broken process. So what will happen? You'll get frustrated, you will get angry that the process is not properly stipulated, the process is not properly made, and it's a broken process. Okay, so that is the main importance of business processes. Now in terms of actual organizations, when your business processes are doing well, what happens is generally you tend to minimize costs, you tend to streamline business processes. When we say streamline, instead of having 10, 15 types of jobs at once, so you try to do only one or two jobs that still gives you the same end product. That's streamlining business process. So if you're able to minimize costs, if you're able to streamline business process, eventually you will gain competitive advantage over your competitors, which will earn you more sales, more revenue, and more profits. And generally, that is the purpose of all businesses. All right. Okay. Managing business processes. So if you have a look at slide towards the right, you have a set of diagrams which we'll be covering up in the next few set of slides. Okay, managing business processes, you have the long description. The accounting and finance department is responsible for creating financial statements, paying of accounts payable, and collecting on accounts receivable. So that is the business process of a accounting and finance department within an organization. So they create financial statements, they ensure payments are made, and they ensure that they receive the amount that they are supposed to receive. Marketing and sales is responsible for things such as communicating marketing campaigns and attracting customers. So that is the work of the sales and marketing department. So they are supposed to market the product, and then they are supposed to attract customers to gain sales. Operations management takes care of inventory ordering and creating production schedules. So operations management department, generally this is a department which ensures that the goods or the services are produced within the organization. And then you have probably one of the most important departments, human resources. They hire employees and track vacations and sick time. So human resource department, generally we call it as the man management department of an organization. They hire and fire employees, and also they track uh, vacations, sick time, etc. And the entire thing is generally displayed in this particular diagram. Okay. So if you would have a look at it, so you have marketing, they create campaign, and if they are creating campaigns, so what they do is they check inventory. So how do they check inventory? They check inventory from the sales department. And then you have the sales department. Okay, so the sales department, they basically place order, or they get the order from the customers, and once they get the order, they notify the production team to get the item produced, and they check credit. Now check credit means if the customer already owes money to the organization, they'll go and decide whether to give the item to them or not, or they will alert them to pay for it first, and then they can purchase the item. Now, manufacturing goods, which is the operations management. Now, if you have a look at it, probably this is one of the most important departments in the organization. Now, why? Because they are the ones who actually produce the goods and the services. If they are not producing it, the other departments are just of no use. If you're not able to produce the goods and services properly and up to the standard and quality, what's the purpose of having a sales, marketing, or even a accounting or finance team? Okay, so that's why I'm saying probably one of the important departments. And then you have accounting and finance. What they do is accounting and finance, they get the delivery on goods. Now deliver goods here does not mean they literally take the item and deliver to the customers. That's the work of the sales team. Now deliver goods here would mean they have a record of delivery of goods, okay, through which they label it as a source document, and using the source document they bill customers, and they make recording and tracking of their revenue and sales. And finally, you have support sale or the customer service department. What they do is they provide support to customers whom they've just sold the item. So this is how the general processes are. So step one, where you have the marketing team coming in. Okay, so they create campaign and they try to market the product. Step two, you have sales team. So based on what the marketing team has done, so the sales team is able to get the sale. Upon getting the sale, alert the operations management team to actually manufacture goods and services. So once that is done, okay, so the accounting and finance team, with the help of the sales team, what they will do is basically they'll get the goods delivered. The sales department will get the goods delivered to the customer, and they will track the delivery of the goods and bill the customer accordingly. And the last step is the customer service team. They basically provide support of the sale that the entire business has just done. Now, what you notice is that each and every department is interdependent on one another in one way or the other. Okay, so that is the general business process of a simple organization. Now, these processes may be more and more complex in other organizations, or it can be even simpler depending on the size of the organization. Next slide. Okay, so the next slide basically explains what we have just talked about. The steps in the example of an order to delivery process include step one, create campaign and check inventory done by marketing. Step two, place order, notify production, check credit done by sales. Step three, manufacture goods done by operations management. Step four, delivery, deliver goods and bill customer done by accounting and finance. And step five is support sales done by customer service. Business, managing business processes. Now we look at customer facing processes and business facing processes. When you talk about customer facing processes, it results in a product or service that is received by an organization's external customer. Now, external customers which are outside the organization. So when you are basically looking at customer facing processes, are processes involved with outsiders, most likely customers, and we generally label them as external customers. And then you have business facing processes. Now, business facing processes are invisible to the external customer. That means your customer does not know what's happening, but are essential to the effective management of the business. And these processes, they eventuate or they incur within the organization. And we call them as internal processes. So once again, customer facing processes, they're external, and generally these processes involve outsiders. Business facing processes, these are internal and they incur within the organization. So if you have a look at the diagram at the bottom of the slide, say customer facing processes involve order processing, customer service, sales process, customer billing, order shipping. Your industry specific customer facing processes. Now what happens here is this is individual customer, this is business customer base. Okay, so your business customers are banking, that is loan processing, insurance, claims processing, government grant allocation, hotel reservation handling, airline baggage handling. And then you have business facing processes. That means those processes which are internal and incur within the organization. These are strategic planning, tactical planning, budget forecasting, training, purchasing raw materials. Now, if you'll notice, the major difference between the two is when you're talking about customer facing processes, it's just like us, we're going to buy goods from a supermarket. Now, what the supermarket do in terms of how to run things, how to manage things, what are their goals, what are their objectives, where do they buy the raw materials from, how do they allocate the price, what are the expenses. We don't know all these things about the supermarket. All we know is generally that we want to go and buy the products from those items. Now, those things we do not know about a particular organization's processes, those are business facing processes. Then we have a long description here for the diagram. Customer facing processes include order processing and customer billing. Examples of industry specific customer facing processes would include loan processing for banks and baggage handling for the airlines. Business facing processes include strategy planning and training. Business process modeling. Now, from here onwards, we'll have a look at how businesses generally they go around and model their business processes. When you talk about model, that means how do they put it out in a graphical structure, or how do they create a graphical notation. So the very first model, and probably the only type of model that businesses use to basically show how it operates, is business process model and notation, that is BPMN. I think the definition is not given there for BPMN, but I will just say it out anyway. Okay, so BPN, it is a graphical notation. That means whatever you're seeing would be in terms of pictures and graphs, and it depicts the steps in the business process. Now, it provides businesses with graphical view of the end-to-end flow of business processes. That means from step one till the very last step, till the goods and services are uh, finished or till you get the end product, it tries to show all of that in a graphical view. So that is business process model and notation. For event, activity, gateway, and flow, we'll have a look at the definitions for those in the next slide. BPN, BPM, and event is anything that happens during the course of a business process. That's pretty simple. So whatever happens within the phase of getting a product or services delivered, so that is BPMN event. By the way, BPMN is business process model and notation. If you look at BPMN activity, basically it is a task in a business process. Any work that is performed in the process is an activity. Gateway is used to control the flow of a process. So when you talk about gateway, basically we are talking about handle forking. Forking means basically the dividing of something, handle forking, merging and joining the parts within a process. So that's gateway. And then you have BPM and flow. So what BPM and flow does, it displays the path in which the business process flows. In other words, the path in which the process generally flows, or the path in which how one product is delivered from a raw material to a final product, that's the flow. In other words, if you look at the previous diagram, so the event is indicated generally to the use of a oval, the activity to the use of a square, the gateway to the use of a diamond. Now flow, the path in which the process flows, is used by the point of an arrow. So that's those are generally the most likely we can say is those are the parts of a business process model and notation. Just simply know what BPMN is. You do not need to generally confuse yourself with each and every individual elements in here. Business process modeling or mapping. The activity of creating a detailed flowchart or process map of a work process showing its inputs, tasks, and activities in a structured sequence. That's business process modeling. And if you look at business process model, it is basically a graphic description of a process showing the sequence of process tasks which is developed for a specific. Now, both the definitions and the terms look quite similar, but actually they are different. What is different between the two? When you're looking at the business process modeling, we are looking at the activity of a process. Okay, so the process generally has an activity. So your process is, let's say, to complete the entire process, you may have 5 or 6 activities. So one of it, the activity, is called business process modeling, whereas business process model is the entire 5 activities combined together. So this business process model. So the difference between the two, the first one, process modeling, is activity based, and process model is process based. And if you look at business process model, there are 2 types: as is process model and to be process model. So as is process model is the current state of operation that has been mapped with no changes, improvements to the existing process. That means what is actually happening, what are the processes that you are actually conducting or doing to produce a product or service. That's as is process model. To be process model is you're trying to apply change, improvement, or opportunities to the as is model. Now, what it simply means, as is, whatever you're doing at the moment to produce your goods and services, that's as is. To be is what are some of the changes or improvements you like to do to the as is process model to improve the entire process. So that's the difference between the two. As is current, to be is future. We have a slide here giving a pictorial view of as is and to be. But the process is about making burgers. So we're talking so much about food in CN 708, and I'm hoping that I'm not driving you hungry. Okay, so as is now if you look at the process, now customer approaches cashier and orders a burger. So the cashier would ask, so there's a diamond. Okay, so the cashier would ask, do you want fries? If yes, then order fries. If no, do you want a drink? If yes, order drink. Or no, the customer pays the cashier. So that's the as is model. Now the to be model, or the process order, what it does is basically this: customer approaches the cashier and orders a combo meal. Customer pays cashier. Now, what happens is the current process and the future process. So, which one makes more money, the current process or the future process? Think from a business point of view always. The future process, the to be model. Why? Over here, you're asking the customer, do you want fries? Do you want drinks? Now, either customer would say yes to both or no to one of it. Now, over here, it's just a combo. It doesn't give any option to the customer. So the customer comes, buys, and generally ends up buying the entire package, would nearly make the same amount of money as this one if he or she buys both the optional items. And also do note that this would take less time because the customer just orders combo. Over here, the cashier would ask, so, madam, would you like to have fries with the order? Would you like to have a drink? Which drink? And so forth. So, to be processes, generally the future and the forecasting processes are supposed to make the task easier and eventually generate more of cash. Next up is workflow. Now, the workflow includes tasks, activities, and responsibilities required to execute each step in a business process. That's pretty simple. Okay, let's go back to the previous slide, this particular slide, before we go into workflow. Now, if I would ask you to think of a as is order process and to be order process, and what improvements you'll make. So as is what is happening in a certain business or in a certain organization, and to be what do you want it to be improved into. Let's have everyone speaking. Think of it a process. Okay, I'll give you an example. Okay, and the example would be something like this. We generally go to grocery stores, we buy our grocery, and then the cashier would ask, would you like to have a plastic bag? Now, generally remember this, the business is not making any money on the plastic bags. That plastic bag levy actually goes to the government, the Ministry of Environment. So the business general does not make any money on the plastic bags anywhere. But what it does, it increases the process of serving a customer. So instead of doing that, now what you'll notice in some supermarkets, they have tons of cartons lying somewhere near the cashier. So instead of cashier asking that, they could just, as soon as a customer comes in, fills in their items in the trolley, goes to the cashier, cashes in, and there is a packer boy who generally packs all the items into that carton. So that decreases the process, and also it gives a better downtime in terms of serving customers. There's one example that I've come up with. Can you think of any other example whereby you have a as is order process, and what would be your to be order process? Think. Shalini, do you have something in your mind? Are you able to think of something? Please do not feel afraid to talk. Even if you give a wrong answer or something as such, we are all learning. It's completely fine. Yes, Shalini.
I'm still thinking.
Still thinking? Okay, thank you. Anyone else?
So
Yes.
what about I'm not sure. So, during this COVID time, the vaccination process that we were like actually going through.
Yep.
Initially, there was as is order process. Like we had to follow that line, and then certain and then now we have got that drive through.
And it's a better one. Yes. That is a very good example indeed. It's a very thank you. That's a very good example. So as is previously, you would go and stand in line, and then sometimes they would give you a number, sometimes they would not give you a number. Then halfway when you go to the line, then they will give you a declaration form that you need to sign in, or if somebody has not registered, they will go and register, and from there you have to stand for few hours, 3 or 4 hours, and then come home. So you are already, even if you are not sick of COVID, you're already sick by the time you come home because you have to stand in long lines. Now the drive-through thing is very simple and easy. All you have to do is you have to just sit in your vehicle, in the comfort of your vehicles, and while you sit in the vehicles, you can also register for the vaccine. And as soon as you are about to reach the center where you're supposed to be vaccinated, what you can do, what they will do is they'll give you the declaration form, you can sign straight away, and then you're done. You get the jab and you're done. So that's a very good example of as is and to be. So thank you so much, Shalini, for sharing with us. Anyone else has any other example that they would like to speak out in the class? Anyone else? Okay, if no examples, we will continue. So if I would be asking for any other examples in the next few set of slides, so I will be asking others. Shalini has answered. So the other three in the list, I think there was few more who have stepped out, or I think the internet playing up. Okay, so I will also try to ask you so we can hear from each and everyone. Now, workflow includes tasks, activities, and responsibilities required to execute each step in a business process. So when you talk about workflow, you're talking about a series of tasks involved in a specific order to execute a business process. Now, business process and workflow, somehow they may be interrelated. How? Because they mean the same thing. Workflow, you try to do something to achieve something. Business process, you also do a set of steps to achieve something. But the difference between the two is when you're talking about workflow, you're talking about a specific order of things. Business process is just giving a general definition of, okay, you are doing this, and you're trying to get an end product. Workflow, you're doing this, and that, but in a specific order. For example, enrollment in, let's say, CIN 708, going back to our example. So if you are an existing student, you'll go into your online student services. Let's say even if you aren't, you'll go to ICT, you'll get your username and password, online student services. From there, you'll try to register for CIN 708. So once you register, so you'll have your invoice emailed to you. So once your invoice is emailed to you, that completes the registration process. After that, you'll get access to Moodle account for CIN 708. Now that's automatic. As soon as your invoice is generated, you will be able to see CIN 708 in your Moodle dashboard. And once you have that, you know the class timetable, and then you are in the class. Now that's a specific order. So that is an example of workflow. Anyway, I hope all of you are also accessing your student webmails. Now, in student webmails, important information that the university generally wants to give to the student, it ends up there, student webmail. And most of the times, the scholarships, the bursary schemes, we have weekly competitions on things they are being run. Do go and check it out. Okay, the weekly competitions, there are some prizes and so forth. So please do check your webmail. Just in case if you do not have the username password for your student webmail, drop an email. I will send you a request to ICT, somebody who is quite reliable and somebody who is able to correspond, let's say, within the same hour and get your password reset. So using MIS to improve business processes. Now, why do we need MIS? MIS, Management Information System. Why do we need that in business processes? Now, what happens with MIS is that it improves the workflow. One. Now, not only improves, also note that most of your workflow is quite automated when you start using an MIS. Now, MIS is a computerized system. Generally, with it, most of your workflows will get automated. Now, moreover, once your workflow gets automated, that means all the data going in and out of your MIS system is recorded. So if it's recorded, that means you may use any of those expert systems or any of those TPS, DSS, or EIS systems to analyze, evaluate, and make better decisions for your organization. And that in general will increase the productivity levels, increase your sales. Now, when your productivity level increases, okay, that means you are able to produce more goods and services. The entire department or the entire business functions well. So generally, you're able to make more sales, more revenue. However, do note this: the MIS, the computerized system that you have, they do not drive your business processes. The business processes, they drive MIS. In other words, your management information system is dependent on the business process and not vice versa. Now, what happens if it is in that case? Now, this is scenario A, this is scenario B. Now, in this case, what happens is that the MIS tends to be driven by the business processes. Now, what happens or why does it happen? Now, that generally happens because of the system constraints. What would be some of the system constraints? Now, the system constraints would be is generally the management information systems. They are either made within the organization, an external party makes it for the organization, or you're buying it off the shelf. When we say off the shelf, you're buying it from a business, for example. So when you're buying a MIS, it is not tailor-made to suit your organization. So in that case, there will be some constraints, and you will have to conduct your business processes as per your MIS. Now, if possible, always try to avoid such scenarios whereby your MIS tends to drive your business processes. It shouldn't do that. Whatever business processes you have as per your strategic goals, your MIS should be able to meet the needs. If it isn't, so that means it is not the best management information system for your organization. Using MIS to improve business processes. Types of change an organization can achieve along with the magnitudes of change and potential business benefits. Now, in summary, the diagram represents an important concept called business process reengineering. When we say business process reengineering, you're trying to bring in changes within the organization. With business process reengineering, also what happens is the processes, they become better in the organization. Not only better, they become faster and they become cheaper. Now, looking at the diagram, with the introduction of MIS, you are able to automate tasks, you're able to streamline tasks. I'm referring to here, automate, streamline, yes, and you are also re-engineering tasks. Now, when you talk about automate comes from the word, automation comes from the word automatic. That means you're reducing human input. More likely in businesses, for example, answering phones with the use of computers. Okay, we are able to do that. So you're automating the tasks. When you talk about streamlining, you're talking about realignment. Realignment generally means you're trying to improve a business process. For example, you're trying to remove duplicate jobs. And finally, when you talk about re-engineering, you're redefining a process or to make a process better rather. Example, you have products, okay, and these products are sold to the wholesalers or distributors, and then the distributors sell it to the consumers. Now, instead of having those three processes, now you have products. Products are sold to the wholesalers and distributors, and then it is sold to the customers. So what you can do is you can have the product, instead of giving to the wholesaler and distributor, you can directly sell it to the customers. So what happens? So the middle party is gone. So once the middle party is gone, the price of the item would decrease because the middle party is making some additional profits on it. So the prices are going to get cheaper. Eventually, you lead to more sales. Okay, so that's an example of business process reengineering. Operational business processes, you're looking at automation. Operational business processes are static routine daily business processes such as stocking inventory, checking out customers, or daily opening and closing process. Business processes or operational business processes, these are daily routines to produce goods and services within the organization, or daily routines that a business generally does. Now, even you'll notice that it talks about daily opening and closing processes as well. Now, operational analytics is incorporating analytics with biz processes. So if I would read here is it makes analytics part of the business process. So when you're incorporating analytics with business processes, what you're doing is whatever data that you have about the organization or within the organization, you're trying to analyze it. Analytics comes from the word analyze. You're trying to analyze it and you're trying to make better decisions of it. Now, what it ensures is the company is gathering consistent data about the business process. It automatically monitors, since it's talking about automation. It measures how the business is performing, is helping with efficiency and effectiveness. Always remember this: if you can't measure something, you can't manage it. Now, also customers are demanding better products and services. That's in the next slide. And then you have business process improvement, attempts to understand and measure the current process and make performance improvements accordingly. Automation, the process of computerizing manual tasks. So when you talk about automation, you are talking about computerizing humanly performed manual tasks. So you are trying to eliminate all those tasks that are generally performed by humans. Now, this means you may end up downsizing or right sizing your organization by removing people within the organization. Now, which might seem bad from the very beginning if you try to look at it from a human perspective, but if you look at in a business perspective, uh, that's better for them. Because why is better for them? Because it eliminates redundancies. One, the efficiency level improves, the effectiveness level also improves in the organization. It ends up streamlining the entire processes in the businesses, and also decisions are made faster, easier, cheaper, and better. Like we know that humans, they have a lot of emotions, and also we have other psychological factors as well. They may be sick, they may be out on leave, they may have problems at home, they may have problems in their personal lives, and so forth. So all these, they affect decision making process. However, if you are using automation, it makes the work even easier. A very good example of automation is would be, if I would think of one very quickly, it would be online checking in air travel. Previously, if you were traveling abroad, so you would go with your visa document and everything. You will also go and take your flight ticket and so forth, go to the counter, and they will process everything for you. Now, what you can do is, if you're knowing that you have to catch a flight at, let's say, 10, that means you must report about 2 or 3 hours earlier. So by 7, you should be there. And if you feel that you're getting late, what you can do is you can quickly jump into, let's say if you're going through Fiji Airways, you can go into their mobile app or onto their website, and then you can do an online check-in. So that automates the entire tasks, and it is very easy and very simple. Moreover, if you go to the airport, let's say you have not done your online check-in. If you have not done that, you go to the airport and you'll see a very long line at the counter. Now, right at now what to do now what they do have is a online check-in kiosk right at right before the counters. So what you can do is you can always go and check in using those kiosks. So it makes the work easier, not only for Fiji Airways, but also for the customer's point of view as well. They don't have to stand in long lines. And also what Fiji Airways might do is they might reduce the number of staffs because majority of them would prefer checking in using the kiosk. Now, operational business process automation, steps in business process improvement. Now, if you look at that diagram over there, you have document as is process. That means the current measures or the current processes. You have, after that, you'll try to establish measures to improve them. And then you'll follow a process, you'll measure the performance, identify and implement improvements. So what happens is that in this particular diagram is talking about you have the current procedures and what are some of the series of tasks that you can take to actually go and improve the processes even further. Okay, now just wanted to pose a question. Let's say name an organization that is so pitch perfect that it does not require any form of improvement. Is there any organization which is very, very perfect in their process and everything they do that they do not need any improvement? The answer there is none. There's no such organization. Each and every organization in any point in time, they will need to have some form of improvement. Also, is improvement a one-time event or is something that has to be done continuously? Now, it has to be done continuously. Now, if you have a look at the diagram, this is the entire improvement process, and then it goes to where it is. Now, what it simply means is that this is a continuous process which needs to be followed at a very regular time and on as need basis. For example, if a new technology shows up, if there's a demand from customers, or if there's a demand from internal or external parties, then the processes needs to be improved. Managerial business processes. Now we're talking about streamlining. Now, streamlining basically improves business processes efficiencies by simplifying or eliminating unnecessary steps. An example of streamlining would be for example, is automatic sending of email or telling a customer that the product has been shipped. Now, what happens here is the example that I gave is, let's say a customer buys product online. So as soon as he or she buys product online, item is packed and then sent over to the customer. So as soon as the item is sent, so in the MIS, in the Management Information System software, so the business will go and actually will go and write down it has been shipped just for tracking purposes. So as soon as it's shipped or the selection shipped is done, what it will do is it will automatically send an email to the customer that their product has been shipped. So that's streamlining the process. So it's done automatically rather than a person doing it separately. And then you have bottleneck. Bottleneck occurs when resources reach full capacity and cannot handle any additional demands. So bottleneck is just like having shortage of resources. Example, our product is offered on sale at, let's say, about 60% discount. And what happens is over a day, you're flooded with orders. And those orders, in order to complete those orders, you lack staff, you lack packaging items, and then you are unable to ship it, let's say, within that particular 24 hours. So a case where you run short of resources is called bottleneck. Redundancy occurs when a task or activity is unnecessarily repeated. Redundancy is a simple English word which says or which means you try to repeat something. So in this case, it is the repetition of tasks. Example, the item is packed. Okay, so the person who's packing, he checks it. The warehouse manager, he or she also checks it. The dispatch staff checks it also, and once it goes to the shipping section of the organization, so they recheck the item in the packaging against the invoice and the actual box. So what happens is that you'll see that the tasks are repeated so many times. So in that case, there is a repetition or redundancy of task. Another good example would be is, how many of you been to a hardware shop, and when you go and buy an item, let's say Vinod Patel, I've seen Vinod Patel doing it. Even if you go to RC Manubai, even they do it. So when you go and buy item from these hardware shops, so as soon as you cash it out, and before you step out, there's a security guy who is checking the list again. So whatever items you have bought, so they'll see all the items in the bag or in the carton or wherever you're getting it, and they'll check it against the receipt. Do you think is that redundancy, or do you think that's streamlining? Abhishek, let's hear from you. What do you feel? Is that redundancy or is that streamlining? Abhishek, you there?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so do you feel it's repetition of task, or do you think is that okay?
Mm. Uh, Repetition, sir.
Repetition? Okay, it depends. Okay, it generally depends on how you would want to put it out or how the organization puts it out. Now, what these companies are doing is they are rechecking items so that no additional things are taken away. But if you generally would have a look at it, so if you have a security guy who's just standing in the counter, so when the cashier is actually cashing it out, don't you think they could just check it rather than individually pulling out all the items and then rechecking it once again? I remember just before COVID, I went to one of these hardware shops, I think Arsumanubai in Namaka. Yeah, I went there and I bought quite a lot of items. So as soon as I had bought it, so while the cashier was cashing it, they were packing it into a carton. So as soon as I cashed out, so the security guard came, pulled everything out of the carton once again, and then took another 10 or 15 minutes to actually go and check all the items. So that just wastes time. One. Secondly, also if there's a customer with very little patience, he or she might get angry. Two. Moreover, it's just redundant work. So if the cashier is cashing it out, this particular security person or security personnel could just stand and have a look, and at the same time, as soon as the person cashes out, just cross off the receipt, and then he and the customer is allowed to leave. That can reduce the redundancy part. So it totally depends how you look at it from a business point of view or from a customer's point of view. Where I am coming from is from a business point of view. So yeah, from a customer point of view, businesses would see otherwise and they will say, no, that's fine. We want to repeat the step, we want to take some more time, but we want to get things sure. Okay, so that's their way of doing it. Strategic business processes. A company can improve the way it travels by the road by moving from foot to horse and then horse to car. BPR looks at taking a different path, such as airplane, which ignore the road completely. Now, what we're talking about is we are talking about business process reengineering. So when you talk about business process reengineering, is your as is tasks you want to take it out completely and have a to be task. So over here, it gives an example whereby what happens is that you have a person who is working, and when you want to improve their services, so from working, you might have a horse carrying something, carrying the item. And if you want to improve it even further, you might have a car doing the work for you. But when you're looking at business process reengineering, you are not going to take that path of a person to a horse into a car. Instead, you'll just introduce an aeroplane. Why? That because companies strive to improve business processes and they want to do it by performing tasks which are faster, cheaper, and better. Now, in Fiji's case, what happens is generally if you are trying to travel in an aeroplane, it's quite expensive here because you have only one company or one or two companies that generally run these airline services. So the competition is less. So there's more supplier demand. When the supplier demand is high, the prices will be high. But if you have more companies like what countries like Australia, New Zealand, or US have, and whereby the customer demand is high. So when the customer demand is high, the price of the item would be low. In that case, traveling through airplanes would be cheaper. But let's say if you are carrying quite a lot of items, okay, and you feel that you don't own a car, right, and then you'll have to hire a rental car to take the item to Suva. So hiring a rental car would be close to about $100 per day, and let's say you have to stay in Suva for 3 days. So $100 per day times 3 is about $300, and plus you'll fuel up. Here to Suva, fueling up might cost you about $60 to $70. If it's a hybrid car, what is very much common at the moment, it may take you about $50. Okay, let's make it a minimum of $50. So one way to Suva is $50, come back is another $50. So $100 plus 300 gives you $400. So in that case, taking an aeroplane might be cheaper, because a flight to Suva from Nandi one way is about $70, and return would be $140. So that's a cheaper path. So that is an example of business process re-engineering. Rather than you trying to improve a service, you do a re-engineering, you try to come up with something new, and that basically improves the process even more. So in conclusion, what the image shows is different ways, okay, but you're traveling the same path. And that same path that you're traveling in terms of a person walking, taking a horse, or taking a car, could be labeled as a business process improvement. But when you're looking at business process reengineering, it looks at taking a completely different road path. Example, an aeroplane, okay? Example, aeroplane takes a completely different route, and the destination is same, it's cheaper, it's faster, and it's better. Business process reengineering, analysis and redesign of workflow within and between enterprises. Now, what happens in business process reengineering is, now, first of all, you must know BPR is different from continuous improvement. When you're talking about continuous improvement, you're looking at your as is processes, and you're trying to gradually improve it. Whereas if you look at your BPR, or business process reengineering, you're not improving anything. You're just directly going to the 2B processes. So business process reengineering assumes the current process is irrelevant. Moreover, it focuses on completely new processes. Now, what it does, it reminisces on future operations and businesses. Let's have a look at this diagram. Now, in this diagram, if there's a company A, and I was talking about Progressive Insurance mobile claims process. Now, I don't know how many of you have gone through it. So if you would have been, I would say, unlucky enough to go through it, let's say you owned a car and you had an accident. So here in Fiji, the process is something like this. Now, what was the process and what is? Now, why I have specifically chosen this slide, because the first one, the claims resolution process, okay, this is the old process, and this is the new process, what insurance companies are actually approaching these days. So the old process was something like this. When you have an accident, first of all, you'll require a police report. So that police report, you'll take it to the insurance company. So what the insurance company will do is they will give you a form. You'll have to fill in that particular form, and then you have to go and get 2 codes for the damage of your car. So while you're doing that, so what they'll do is they will be assessing your form, checking whether you are eligible or not. So meanwhile, while they are doing their processes of checking your eligibility, you will be out there taking 2 quotations. Sometimes when you take the 2 quotations, they'll tell you, hey, you're not eligible. Now that might be something that is wrong, but they will still tell you to do that. So during that process, okay, let's say you've come with 2 quotations, you're given to the insurance company. So once you're given, the insurance company will go and then check your car and will assess the amount of damage. So based on that, they will have a look at the codes. So from the codes, they'll ask you which one do you prefer. So completely your option. Either you want to prefer company A or company B. Okay, probably sometimes they would see if company A charges way too more than company B, so they will say no, stick to company B. but they normally give you the option which company you want to choose. So from there, they'll process it. So once they process, they'll tell you, okay, we'll alert you when to take your car to that particular garage or to the particular company to get your car fixed, and your car is fixed after certain months or certain weeks and so forth. Now, the process from which you will lodge the form and the process to which your form is approved in the old procedure used to take close to about 3 to 8 weeks. So if you had a car which had an accident, so 3 to 8 weeks, you are without a car. Now that 3 to 8 weeks is generally the process of getting an insurance approved for the repairing. And the additional time that would take for the car to actually be repaired, there's additional time. Now, the new process that they have taken, now I have seen this with Sun Insurance. I do not know with the other companies, but Sun Insurance has done something like this. So if your car has an accident, what you can do is you can take a photograph and very quickly send it to them use of their online platform. So in the online platform, they have the form and everything. So in the form, if you're not able to recognize the insurance policy number, if you just put in your car registration number, they'll be able to track it for you. So as soon as you send it to them, within a few minutes, 5 to 10 minutes, their system is automated. So within 5 to 10 minutes, it will tell you whether you have eligibility or not. So what they'll do is straight away somebody will come from the company, insurance company, they'll come and check your car, and then they'll take you. Okay, they'll take you. So they'll take with you and get the quotations done. Okay, and also they'll also help you out with the police report and so forth. Now, compare the old way of doing it and the new way of doing it. The old way used to take about 3 to 8 weeks. The new way of doing it takes about 2 or 3 hours, sometimes less, and sometimes, let's say, maximum 5 hours. But still, the process time is quite, the downtime is quite low compared to the previous one. So this is a good example of business process reengineering, whereby manual things used to take a lot of time, and the automated elements of the business process takes you very less of a time. And generally, this is what the businesses are striving for. They want to do something in terms of whereby they improve the processes. By improving the processes, they reduce cost for themselves, and also they're able to attract more customers. So in that case, if Sun Insurance is actually doing it what I said at the moment, and if I get an accident, and let's say if I've chosen some other company, and if I go through them, it takes about nearly half of the year to get a car repaired, I would rather go into Sun Insurance, which approves the entire process within few hours, than a company that takes few weeks. Okay, so customer preferences. Now, can you think of something as per this diagram, something that a company was doing before and they've improved it to now, and you generally prefer it? Ronil, let's hear from you this time. Ronil, can you think of something, a process that was very old and was practiced by some companies here in Fiji, and it used to take a lot of time? Somehow they've re-engineered, now it takes them very little time.
One example, sir, would be the process of LTA.
Sorry, Ronil, I'm not able to hear you.
The process of passing your vehicles through LTA.
The process of yes.
The ER fitness. For example, before you paid the fees and everything, and you had to go and wait for the examiner. Once they were free, then they called you to come and examine. But now you just pay your fees, and they give you a application number. And what you do, you just go into where the examiner is and check the. So no, that process is like cut down. You don't have to wait for the examiner. You just stay in the line, and once the examiner is there, you'll just take it.
Okay, so yeah, that's a very good example, Ronin. Thank you. Yes, so that is a very good example of business process reengineering. And once you have mentioned LTA, also what they have done previously, LTA was only authorized examiners that they would have for vehicle fitnesses. Now they have what they've done is they have given other authorized dealers. For example, you have Escom Motors, it does it, Carpenters Motors. I think mainly there's Motorex, so they do it. So that's also re-engineering the process and allowing the work to be done easily, thus satisfying more customers. Good. Okay, that's a good example. Another easy example that I could come up with, and it's be one of the most important reprocessing business process reengineering items, would be the banking process. Previously, if you'd like to go and make a payment for something, let's say you have uh, let's say EFL payment, EFL payments. So if you would like to go and make a payment and then the money is in the bank, so you would first of all go and take a withdrawal slip and then fill it up. And once you withdraw, then you'll normally go and pay it at EFL outlets. And then later on, ATMs came through. Then so they re-engineered. So ATMs came through. You were able to actually make your payment. You were able to make your payments by withdrawing from the ATMs and then going to EFL. And then they re-engineered it and become even more better. Now you can go and pay it online. So you just at the comfort of your homes, you were able to log into your computers, your internet banking username and password, and you were able to make payments. Then they went around re-engineering even further. Then they came up with mobile phone apps. So with the mobile phone apps, what you can do is you can log in, takes you less than a minute. You are able to make your payments. It's even more simple. Now, same thing with deposits as well. Previously, when you were doing a deposit, so you would have to stand in the line in the bank and then make your deposits in the bank. Now, what they have is they have those fast deposit features whereby in the envelope you can fill in the slip, you can put in the money, put in the fast deposit boxes, and you are able to make deposits easily. Then later onwards, they improvised it, they re-engineered it, and it came to a stage whereby you're able to make deposits through the ATM machines. I hope you do know that with the ATM machines you can also make deposits. The places where the money normally comes out, you can actually go and insert in envelopes in the same slot, and then you will type in the amount of money you're depositing with the account number and every detail, and you're able to make deposits straight away. So that's pretty simple. Okay, and things are improving. And with how the way technology is moving, you'll have more and more processes which are being re-engineered. But with all this, we do need to understand that there are some sort of risks associated. Okay, so what businesses would generally do is, in order to counter most of the risks, they will do a proper analysis of each and every step they are about to take. Okay, however, in majority of the cases, the business process re-engineering steps, they overtake the risks. So that means businesses would strive through and try to get most of the processes re-engineered as much as possible. So this is also an example given for automated deposits. I think we've talked about this. And that finishes our lecture slides for lecture 2. Okay, for week 3 as well. Generally, I literally find this topic very interesting. Now, why I find it interesting, because it is based on information systems, and I am an IS major. So I have done information systems for my diploma and my degree programs, and also my portion of postgrad and masters. So I find it very, very interesting. And also I have quite a lot of background knowledge on most of these things. Now, if you are finding it difficult to understand, I would like to repeat, please read over the slides. Now, also, if you are able to see what I'm displaying on the screen, whatever I was explaining, I have made an effort to write all those things on the note sections of the slides. Please do go and read them. That will generally improve your understanding. Okay. So if you feel that some of the things that I'm explaining and it's not mentioned in the slide, it will be very similar. 99% of it will be in the note section. So please do make an attempt to read over them and try to understand them. So generally coming a point in a nutshell, if you want to understand theories better, you have to do a lot of reading. So reading generally helps, and not just one time reading. You might need to read 2 or 3 times or even more, as much as possible. What I would suggest is, since you doing this unit, take at least about half an hour per day apart from your assignments. Take at least about 30 minutes per day. I'm sure you are able to dedicate 30 minutes. Take 30 minutes per day for CN 708 and just try to read the slides. Now this is 60 slides. If you take out 30 minutes per day, you should be able to read at least about 30 slides. Okay, and then the other 30 minutes tomorrow, you would be able to cover 31 to 60. So if you repeatedly do this for the entire of 5 days, now I'm not saying use a Saturday and Sunday. Saturday, Sundays are relaxation times, let's say. So take out Saturday, Sundays, but Monday to Friday, if you're able to do this, apart from doing assessments for at least one of the courses that you're doing, you'll do well. Okay, and it really works. I've done this from my own experience. I've done this. It generally helps out. It generally works. So do try and give it an attempt and see how it goes. Okay, so apart from that, this is all for CIN 708 for week 3. Friday, we'll go over our case study, which is available under tutorial 2. And also on Friday's class, I will give you a breakdown structure of your mid-semester 2. Okay, I'm already in the process of making your not mid-semester 2, but mid-semester exam. I'm already in the process of making your mid-semester exam. It is going to be online based, and I will give you the breakdown of it. Pay 15% towards your course well. All right, so thank you very much, everyone, for joining in. Those of you who have joined us, thank you for taking your time. I really much appreciate it. And those of you who have not joined us in the class, but you will be viewing the recording later onwards, feel free to drop me an email or drop me a message on Moodle should you have any questions or any queries. Apart from that, take care, stay safe, everyone. If you get an opportunity, please do get vaccinated. Okay, we had our cases have improved. Yesterday we had 200 something cases, and eventually it will go down once the entire of the nation is fully vaccinated. And I do hope that you and your family are safe. Till then, take care. See you all on Friday. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.